Ladies and gentlemen, good day and thanks for joining us once more for your program entitled A Week Review. The first part of this program is going to do a recap of the news that ran throughout the week. Next on the list, we are going to have our guest, Mr. Emmanuel Ekema. He is a civil society activist. He is a political sociologist. With him, we are going to analyze the head of state speech to the youth done on the 10th of February. Next on the list, we are going to have the rubric entitled No Comment. Remain comfortably seated. We shall be right back just after this transition. Good day once more for those who are just joining us at the moment. It is a week review starting at the moment. We opened with the head of state, Paul Biya, who addressed the youth on the eve of the 11th of February. During his address, he called on the youth to be patriotic as well as optimistic. Let's have more details in this report. The head of state, Paul Biya, opened his speech by congratulating the youth for their active participation in the organization of the Total African Nations Championship. The success of this event guarantees the good organization of the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations that will take place in 2022. The president equally called on the young generation to be optimistic so as to overcome challenges.
My dear young compatriots, as I have often told you, you should never lose hope in our country. You should have faith in the future of a winning Cameroon, where everyone is willing to work for the general interest. You should remain at the forefront to fight the vital battles of our time. This does not mean that I am overlooking the difficulties you are facing. However, remember 2 years ago, under the same circumstances, I told you along the same lines that each generation has a historic mission to accomplish.
He goes further to urge those who have unfortunately chosen to rally behind demons of hatred and division to drop their arms and to do what is right. As for the challenging problem of unemployment in Cameroon, the head of state in his address called on youth to get back to work as he announced the creation of about 500,000 jobs for the year 2021.
Young compatriots, our country has just completed the establishment of its democratic institutions as provided for by the Constitution. Many young people are part of the various parliamentary, municipal, and regional bodies. This is the way the generational transition in the management of public affairs is prepared. Time for politicking is therefore over. It is now time to resolutely get back to work. Regional and local authorities constitute a source of opportunities that I urge you to seize. The government, for its part, will continue its efforts to develop the entire country. The effective participation of young people in the nation's socio-economic life will continue to be at the center of its action. In that connection, it will ensure that they are increasingly involved in decision-making concerning them. The broad outlines goals of our country's progress towards emergence by 2035 have been redefined in our national development strategy adopted recently. It is necessary to fully acquaint yourself with it so as to identify all the opportunities it offers.
The government has to work towards ensuring the successful implementation of programs put in place to reduce the rate of unemployment in Cameroon. Above all, President Paul Biya has urged you to be pragmatic and persevering and not to yield to pessimism and discouragement. He says, I quote, "It is in so doing that you will effectively contribute to building a strong, united, democratic, decentralized and emerging Cameroon by 2035. I know you can do it. I count on you." End of quote. The National Youth Day has been celebrated this year under the theme Youth Resilience, Challenges and Opportunities in COVID-19 times. The history of these days stems from the referendum of 1961, which prompted the first edition to hold in 1966. Pamela Nga completes this story for us.
Together, let's unite.
National Youth Day is celebrated every year on February 11th. This day was chosen to commemorate the referendum that took place in 1961, which saw the southern part of British Cameroon join the newly independent La République du Cameroun, also known as French Cameroon, and the northern part of British Cameroon decide to join Nigeria. National Youth Day has thus been celebrated since 1966. The coordination of the celebration is done under the supervision of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Civil Education. Prior to the creation of this ministry, there existed a fusion named the Ministry of Youth and Sports, where the Minister Michel Jansi was the first to undertake the functions of this ministry in 1970 to 1971. It was in 2006 that birthed the two ministries, presently known as the Ministry of Sports and Physical Education and the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Civic Education. The National Youth Day is traditionally celebrated by a national parade where youth parade at boulevards in all the 10 nations of the country. This is an inclusion of all generations, which is a patriotic symbol of the youth to their country. However, this 55th edition shall go down in history as one not to be celebrated with the traditional parade due to the realities of the COVID-19 pandemic.
In Cameroon today, there is an increase on the usage of hate speech, a practice done by most youth. The advent of social media has even made things worse, as some use this means of communication to promulgate or rather to propagate false rumors. Let's have more details in this report. The European Court of Human Rights, in a definition by the Council of Europe's Committee of Ministers, considers hate speech as all forms of expression which spread, incite, promote or justify racial hatred or other forms of hatred based on intolerance. Since the introduction of internet and subsequent use of social medias in Cameroon, there has been a steady increase in the number of users per year. Social media in Cameroon is increasingly being used for the propagation of hate speech. According to a book entitled Social Media and Conflict, hate speech has been visible in Cameroon for decades, even before the advent of social medias. This phenomenon has been common among politicians, administrators, and youth. In fact, Cameroonians of all walks of life and age have used words which can today be categorized as hate speech. The current crisis in the far north, northwest, and southwest regions of Cameroon remains complicated because of fake news, propaganda disseminated online. Several organizations play major roles in Cameroon with the focus of combating hate speech through digital media spaces. And so about youth, an observation has been made on the youth tendency to easily follow Western clothing. According to businessmen in Cameroon, retailers spent about 126 billion francs CFA on the purchase of second-hand goods between the year 2015 to 2017. Our reporter completes the story for us.
National Youth Day is a celebration that aims at empowering the youth. Fashion plays a vital role in how Cameroonian youth represent themselves. An observation has been made on the youth's tendency to adopt the Western vogue, a choice of style which is not always welcomed in a conservative society. The coming of modernization and globalization has caused a cultural shock, which has opened borders for the invasion of Western clothing saturated in our local markets and boutiques. It is almost impossible not to be influenced by the Western fashion, as youth stem their inspiration from musical video clips where artists often dress their video vixens in a provocative manner, with clothes such as shorts, tight skirts, ripped jeans, and more. This captures the attentions of young viewers. Added to that, the influence of social media. Youth can easily fall into the dressing habits of their idols in the desire to imitate their lifestyle. According to the businessincameroon.com, between the year of 2015 and 2017, Cameroonian retailers disbursed a total of 126 billion francs on the purchase of second-hand clothes, a supply which suits its high demand.
Thank you, Pamela Anga, for that report. The 55th edition of the National Youth Day has come to an end on Thursday. Activities have been organized at the esplanade of the National Museum in order to commemorate this celebration that took place within a particular context. Let's have more details. In a bid to promote Cameroon's culture, youth displayed their talent at the esplanade of the National Museum on Thursday. Traditional dances of different regions were showcased through some cultural dancing steps. Equally, to mark the 55th edition of the National Youth Day in Cameroon, children intoned songs in the midst of several personalities present. The Minister of Youth and Civic Education, Monuna Foto, once more called on the young generation to actively contribute for the development of the nation. Like him, the other ministers emphasized on the advice given to the youth by the head of state during his address to the nation on the eve of the 11th of February. The exposition of several articles equally characterized the commemoration of the National Youth Day in Cameroon, celebrated within a particular context. The National Youth Day in Cameroon has been celebrated without the usual parade done each year. The decision has been taken by the Minister of Youth and Civic Education, Monuna Foto, in order to avoid the propagation of the COVID-19 pandemic. Details in this report.
According to a release issued by Minister Monuna Foto, the measure has been taken to preserve the health of the population. Thus, activities around the celebrations will mostly be done virtually. The decision comes after a recent resurgence of COVID-19 in some major cities of the country, as Cameroonian authorities continue to call on the population to respect barrier measures. Meantime, preparations for the 55th National Youth Day celebration is ongoing in more schools. Activities such as workshops, debates, sporting, and cultural events keep the students busy at the moment. From observations, all this is taking place in some schools under the strict respect of barrier measures put in place by the government of Cameroon. The 55th edition of the National Youth Day is organized under the theme Youth Resiliences, Challenges and Opportunities in Times of COVID-19.
The commemoration of the 55th edition of the National Youth Day that just ended on the Thursday was commemorated with a lot of activities organized in several schools. Let's have more details with you, Westalby Bank.
Pupils executing traditional dances to mark the Youth Day celebration in Cameroon. Organized every 11th of February, the National Youth Day is an occasion given to the young generation to showcase their talents. Moreover, it is equally the opportunity to celebrate them given the heavy tasks they have. Despite the health crisis rocking the entire world, schools still made it possible for the youth to amuse themselves. Several activities have been organized in order to mark the 55th edition of the National Youth Day in Cameroon.
Considering the fact that they are still little children, we decided to organize some few activities for them, for us to do in school. Things like we have filling the basket with the ball, we have line speaking, we have running with egg race, we have eating competition, we have dances like ballet, we have things like traditional dances, we have filling the containers with water, that is water race, and then at the end of the day we have things like handball, football, competition between pupils, competition between teachers. And finally, we have a very small march past, those who have the signal for the day. So we have activities, pupils to pupils activities, and then we have teachers to teachers activity. And then at the end of the day, we select the winners and we see how we can appreciate them with a little thing so that they should also feel that it is a national day. So we could not just turn it off or close the page, even though the government said we should not go to the field, so we just decided to do something small.
Though some students expressed dissatisfaction on the news of the cancellation of the parade across the national territory, the activities ongoing in various schools is a big relief for them.
As we all know, the 11th February has been cancelled, and sometimes the KMS feels boring without the 11th February. But to me, I think it's okay to have a KMS without 11th February, because after the KMS, many students are tired and they need to have a rest. You cannot finish KMS and you're so tired and you're going to go and march in the field. It's improper for sanity.
The 2021 National Youth Day celebration is thus a moment to think of the future of the nation.
Onto this brief, at the moment, the National Assembly has launched on Tuesday, 9th February, their annual program for the reinforcement of personnel and the amelioration of the administration of parliamentarians. This one-month program shall last until 9th of March 2021 and consists of 300 personnel and agents of these institutions, 7 modules that consist of writing and correction of commission reports, communication of the institution, public relation, parliamentarian diplomacy, and ethics and deontology. This program shall be done in the 2 official languages. Last year, 140 executives of the National Assembly were trained already in mastering the official languages, that is English and French. Onto this other news, the new chairman of the African Union is now president of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Felix Tshisekedi. The incoming administration that is set to function for 1 year has pressing issues to tackle, such as coronavirus, civil wars, and negotiation strategies between members of states. Our reporter Pamela Nga completes this story for us.
It's official. President Felix Tshisekedi will take over African Union's chairman from South African Cyril Ramaphosa during a 2-day virtual summit which kicks off on Saturday. This incoming administration shall tackle the following pressing issues, such as the coronavirus pandemic. While vaccinations have begun in richer countries, only a handful of African countries have started administering COVID-19 jabs. Some do not even have a vaccination plan. The African Union aims to immunize at least 60% of the continent's 1.3 billion people in the next 3 years. The organization has so far secured 670 million doses for its member states. There is also conflict. Since last December, fighting has flared up again in the Central African Republic. The United Nations says 200,000 people have fled their homes in less than 2 months. Conflicts in the Central African Republic is not a new problem. Rebels opposed to President Faustin Archange Ouattara have stepped up attacks on the capital Bangui since December. Also in late October, Ethiopia, Sudan and Egypt resumed virtual talks over the filing and operation of this $4 billion Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam project, which broke ground in 2011. But the negotiation broke down without a deal. The African Union is helping to get the parties to agree, but it is hard to see a compromise being reached soon. All in all, the incoming administration has their plate full for the 1-year mandate, as negotiation and long solutions need to be implemented to solve these pressing issues.
The 4th edition of the Youth Parliament has closed in Yaoundé, presided over by the Minister of Youth and Civic Education, Monuna Photo. The session offers the opportunity to youth to participate in the socio-political life and the development of the nation. More details in this report.
Youth voluntary commitment for the promotion of peace and sustainable development. It is the team leading the training of young parliamentarians holding in Yaoundé. It was an occasion for the youth to submit their plight and to question the minister and member of government on the work done in their various ministries.
You know, in our locality, the youth of Bafia are facing a lot of problems, which is mostly concerned with electricity. We don't have elites who are fighting for us concerning the electricity. That is why you people are always realizing that our results during the examination are always poor. So what we are trying to do is to call the attention of all our local authorities to go and sensitize those who are in charge of different companies, especially ENEO, for them to accompany us in the promotion of good results for a better Cameroon in tomorrow.
The Minister of Employment and Vocational Training, Isachiro Mabakari, on his part, talked on the challenging problem of unemployment of youth in Cameroon. Like him, each minister answered to the question of the young parliamentarians throughout the session. The training that kicked off on Monday came to an end on Tuesday in Yaoundé. During the session, participants were armed on how to be actors of peace amongst their peers when they will return to their different regions. At the end, attestations were given to the young parliamentarian as a sign of acquisition of knowledge.
Right now, we are moving to sports, but before then, let's have this transition. On to sports, we are going to start with this brief. Cameroon goalkeeper Andre Onana has been banned from football for 1 year for doping violation. The goalkeeper is said to have failed an out-of-competition drugs test in October. The 24-year-old said he had mistakenly taken the substance from his wife's medication after feeling unwell, and his club have said they will immediately appeal the decision of the Court of Arbitration for Sport. And still in sport, to talk about the CHAN 2020 that just ended in Cameroon. Morocco qualified for the 2020 African Cup of Nations on Sunday at the EMMANUEL Stadium with a score of 2-0 against Mali. Morocco is now a 2-time champion of the total AFCON competition hosted by Cameroon this year. Details in this report.
Morocco has retained the 2021 African Nations Championship after defeating Mali on Sunday evening. The header Sofiane Bouftini opened the score at the 69th minute after a good corner cross. 10 minutes later, Ayoub Al-Kabi netted in another header to finalize the score against the Malian team. Kenyan referee Peter Waweru who officiated the match, had a hard time claiming down the tense game that was stopped on many occasions following numerous disagreements among players of both teams. Morocco is now the first team to retain the title and also join the Democratic Republic of Congo in winning the cup twice. The national team began the competition in Group C alongside Togo, Rwanda and Uganda. Morocco's first two performances were not convincing and planted doubt in many fans. Cameroon, on its part, lost the third position to Guinea on Saturday with a 2-0 score in favor of Guinea.
Of course, Tara, who is there.
Et les pouvoirs publics qui n'ont pas...
As announced at the start of our program, it is now time for the guest. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the second part of your program entitled The Guest. Starting at the point of time, the head of state, President Paul Biya, addressed the youth on the 10th of February 2021. That was on Wednesday. The head of state addressed the youth as he always does every 10th of February. And today, in the second part of our program entitled The Guest, we are going to analyze the head of state speech to the youth. And to do that, we are going to receive just in few minutes our guest, Mr. Ekema Emmanuel. He is a civil society activist. He is equally a political sociologist. Just stay tuned. We shall be back in a minute.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Emmanuel.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, and you?
I'm good.
Thank you.
Have a seat.
Thank you very much.
He is here with me, ladies and gentlemen, Emmanuel Ekema. Thanks for accepting our invitation.
It's my pleasure, madam.
As I earlier announced to our televiewers, you are a civil society activist and equally a political sociologist, and we are here today to analyze the president's speech to the youth. The speech was done on the 10th of February, as it is always done every year. And to start with our exchange, I would like to know what is your general point of view concerning the president's speech to the youth.
Once again, thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome.
I think from a general perspective,
yes,
the head of state sounded pedagogic, which it is his role as a father of the nation. Because when I listened to him, I heard so many words of caution. I had a lot of hope that he gave to the youth.
Yeah.
So I think from a general perspective, he really sounded as a father of the nation. And so the youths have to be proud to have a head of state like him, who from time to time, each time he takes the floor in his usual traditional speeches for the nation,
yes,
he usually have those words reserved for the youths, like the future, because we, the youths, are the future. And the father has that responsibility to guide his children for the future.
Yes.
I think the head of state did not disappoint us in that perspective. He did everything possible to show us what the country is and what the country is heading to, especially when it comes to projects that are related to youths. So I think it's a speech which was full of meaning. Every youth who listens to that speech should have a lot of hope that Cameroon of tomorrow is in our hands.
So you advise all those who did not listen to President Paul Biya's speech to the youth to go back and watch or rather listen to this speech?
Yes, I greatly advise them to do so, because the speech, as I said, contains a lot of wisdom. The speech has a lot of perspective for the country.
Yes.
And the young people have to be interested in what their father is thinking about them. And all of that is contained in that speech. So if they missed the opportunity to watch it yesterday,
yeah,
they should go back to it. We have so many media organs that must have registered, and they will echo it.
And it's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. We have social media outlets that
yeah,
we can equally catch up with it, because the message there is one which is laying the foundation for a better Cameroon.
You know, the head of state opened his speech by talking about the success of the total AFCON abbreviated CHAN 2020 organized by Cameroon. And are you in accordance with the head of state?
I'm totally in accordance with what the head of state said, because he vividly said that it was a success for the youths. Yes. And I agree with that, because the main actors of the CHAN were youths. Yeah. Not only Cameroonian youths, but youths all over Africa. And I did remember the head of state promised the Cameroonian youths that he will provide sporting infrastructures worthy of our reality, yes, worthy of our time. And I think he has not disappointed us. If you look at the Jaboma Stadium, the renovated Yaoundé Omisport Stadium, yeah, they all are up to standard. And gradually we think that the head of state is moving the Cameroonian youths towards that period where we can host better or bigger competitions in Cameroon. And going back to CHAN, I saw so many youth volunteers who participated for the CHAN. So yes, we didn't only have our Cameroonian national team that was playing, but we had youths who really volunteered. We had those who were supporters. And so it was good to listen to the head of state come back to the participation of the youth as far as the CHAN was concerned, because it was for us. And he reminded the youths that he did everything for them to have a good football competition. Yeah. That is a man who is matching his words with action. Now, it is not a secret that our football team did not go as far as we expected, but yeah, yet we saw the fighting spirit of the Lions, which is particular of our country. So
can we applaud for the government of Cameroon for the organization of the CHAN competition?
I think we have to give them a pass mark for the organization, because if we did not win at the field of play, but yes, we won at the level of a perfect organization. We did not hear any major incident with all the participating countries. So
what score can you give them for the organization, the perfect organization, as you said?
I'll give them a 19 on 20.
19 on 20. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you're in accordance with EMMANUEL Ekema. He gives the government of Cameroon 19 on 20 for the organization, yes, of the CHAN competition.
Yes, because no major incident was recorded. Yeah. And I think all the different committees that were put in place to handle the different aspects of the competition did their job. Because in this age of social media, anything that goes wrong, yes, is easily known. But you know, we're observers of social media.
Despite the crisis rocking Cameroon in the far north region, the north region, and the southwest region, we saw some games that unfolded in Limbe.
Yeah, before I get back to the other question, I want to go back to what the head of state said, that we organize a CHAN competition within a COVID-19 pandemic, which to me, bravo to Cameroon, because all the measures were well respected. Yes. And we have not heard of any uprising in the infection cases. Yeah. You understand? Which means the Ministry of Health actually did their job, yeah, which you know, people were supposed to be tested before they have access to the field, and which means they did their job perfectly. Coming back to your question about the trouble regions, yes, that hosted the company, like Limbe. Yes. With that, I want to say that Cameroon is a football nation, and when it comes to football, we forget about our differences. It is one factor that unites us. It is one factor that we all identify ourselves in. When it comes to football, there's no Bamuleki, there's no Ewodo, there's no Bakori. We recognize ourselves as a nation. We all take pride in our national team, what they do. I'm telling you that when they sing the national anthem, the players are about to play, all of us, we feel that feeling of being one, that oneness, that feeling of oneness.
So as a political sociologist, do you think we can use that aspect to unite Cameroonians?
I think so. I think so, because football has no opinion. Football is football. Yeah. And it is a universal language. Football is a universal language. Everybody understands football. Everybody can play football. Yes, football is a uniting factor. But fortunately, from a sociological point of view, yes, anywhere you have human beings, there are always aspects that must come in that would derail people from, from living peacefully together. For example, football, there's a lot of corruption. Now, as much as we want to use it as a rallying factor, when you don't get the right actors, certainly there will be a group of people who will be disgruntled, and that now will be a division that will be coming in. So those who are in charge of our football, since they know that Cameroonians love football so much, they should try as much as possible to make it corruption free, because let us see people who merit to play, and they play. You don't get somebody to play because it's your brother, right, or it's your cousin. No, let the right actors play. So football in that case, because we want our football team to always succeed, and when they succeed, it is a period which Cameroonians even forget about their difficult times. So the authorities should know that the head of state usually uses the national team as a symbol of unity in Cameroon. Because
so far we've used various methods to calm the crisis rocking the northwest and the southwest regions. We saw several delegations that went down to these different regions to calm the people, but up to here there are still a lot of disorder in that part of the country.
Yes, the problem in the north and southwest is a very big problem. First of all, we are sad that it is happening. Most often wars are between countries, and a war within a country is not the best, because
and it's the opportunity now to use sports, as you earlier saying, to solve our differences.
Yes.
So we should develop new strategies, and I think this can be a good strategy.
It is a good strategy to use sport to solve the problem, but as I earlier said, people have to be honest.
Yeah.
People have to do the right thing. For example, if sports should be selected based on merit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they should forcefully go and get a guy from Bamenda because we want to show national unity. No, the guy from Bamenda should merit it.
Yes.
But if you go down to Limbe, to Bamenda, you will meet guys who are competent. Yes. Why did they not play? That's a problem. That's a problem. So we are not exploiting this sport opportunity well.
Yes.
I think we should exploit it well, because as I said, sport pacifies the environment. All of us, when football is going on, when the national team is playing, we are all happy. We identify ourselves as Cameroonians, but on one condition: let the right actors take part in the sport. Go to Bamenda, do a selection, you have a good player that you can integrate in the national team. Now, if as the national team is playing and there's nobody from Anglophone Cameroon, it doesn't speak well. You don't want to tell me that there's nobody in the North or South who cannot play football. So, to me, let the collaboration of the head of state understand that he's using sports as a rallying factor, as a factor to cement and consolidate the unity of Cameroon. So they should not joke with it. They should not joke with it. To do it, it is simple. As I will come back to it, I will repeat it several times. Get the right people. Use sport for the right purpose. Because if you avoid corruption in it, then it will serve the purpose for which all of us know, that it cools down minds.
And the success of the CHAN 2020 competition showed equal impact on the upcoming CAN scheduled to be played in 2022.
Yes, certainly. CHAN was a foretaste of what CAN will be. And I think all the stakeholders must have learned their lesson. They must have written down notes.
Yeah.
And you know, when you are starting from nothing, it is difficult. But when you are starting from something, it is better.
It's better.
Now they have a base, which is the CHAN.
Which is the CHAN.
Yes, the more teams will act, certainly.
Yes.
But with the experience they must have gathered organizing the CHAN competition, I think our country will be up to the task. I was very proud with the opening and closing ceremony. It was good. We saw the Cameroonian youth, how they showcased what we are all about, what Cameroon is all about. And the organization was impeccable. It was good.
Well, EMMANUEL Ekema, another aspect the president mentioned, he spoke to youth and told them to be patient, to be patriotic, not to join those who have decided not to join in the construction of their country. What more else can you say, or what can you add to what the president said?
Yes, in the beginning of our interview, I said the president sounded pedagogic. He did not fail us in his regalia that we know him as the father of the nation.
Yes.
Yes, there were a lot of words of caution that were echoed in his address. I think it is possible. It is possible. It is possible.
It's possible.
It is possible.
Well, and equally, the president equally asks youth not to join bad gangs, because we know nowadays in our society, most youth have decided to act the way they are not supposed to. When we talk about acting the way they are not supposed to, when we go back to our schools, we notice we notice that there is an increase in the rate of juvenile delinquencies. We talk about these delinquencies. We talk about drug abuse. We talk about prostitution, even that some students do practice in schools. Just to remember these, as a political sociologist once more, what can be the reasons?
Well, the reasons are very diverse. It is unrealistic to say that all the children in society can behave in the same manner.
Yeah.
It's difficult. We come from different backgrounds.
Yes.
We come from different homes that we have different training.
Yes.
And so, just that is an element that the youth cannot behave the same.
That's true.
Yes, and
That's
when they meet in the school environment, good children corrupt, bad children corrupt good children. Yes, and so it is very, very normal. Another aspect is poverty.
Yeah.
Poverty. There's a wide gap between the rich and the poor in Cameroon, and so most of these children come from very poor backgrounds, and the society has its rules on every individual.
Yeah.
Sometimes what you see, you cannot afford it, but you want it.
But you want it.
What do you do?
Before
you know, you find yourself doing something that is not correct, just to afford what you have seen.
Just to afford what you have seen.
So that's a society for you. That's a society for you. But I think that the youths have to be conscious that life does not only end as a youth. You grow up. If you are a student, you will not end up as a student.
Yes.
One day you will work. So when the head of state talked about patience, yeah, I agree with him, because even just growing as a human being, you need patience. You start from an infant, you move up to an adult, before old age.
I'm talking about your own personal experience.
Yes, I'm talking about my personal experience. It has been a lot of patience to where I am today. If I have to, in brief, talk about my story, yeah. I started as a classroom teacher when I finished university. I taught for almost 5 years, just in the Catholic school. What was I earning back then? Just to disclose to our audience that I was earning 30,000 francs. And before I knew, this opportunity came that I was coming to Yaoundé, and life changed. So you must be patient. You must be patient, because you don't know what life holds for you. So the head of state was sounding visionary in that, right? When he said that you should be patient, tomorrow is good, tomorrow will be better. Yeah. He was sounding visionary, because you can't have it all when you are still a young person. But as you are growing up, those opportunities will come your way. But if you hurry up, the opportunities will be there and you will not be there. Do you agree with me? Yes, so that is it. So the word patient that he used is very capital.
So you invite youth to be patient.
I invite them to be patient, because you cannot have it so easily as you think.
The President of the Republic has asked you to be patient. Now we would like to know, Mr. EMMANUEL Ekema, being patient, is it the only thing to do? Does the government give hope to this young generation?
Right to say being patient is not the only thing that is expected of the youth. Yeah. Because sometimes you can be very patient and your master is somebody who does not consider your patience, and you see that you will go out of control. And there's a possibility that youths are people who agitate a lot.
Yes.
It is normal that youths agitate a lot, and sometimes patience is a luxury. Yes. They don't have the patience. Now, as the father of the nation said, that he has mobilized government agencies to put more effort into all the vision that he had for the youths.
Yes.
I think it's a right step in the right direction.
It's not the first time.
Yes, it's not the first time I made, but you must agree with me that much has been done. A lot of road has been covered as far as programs for youth is concerned. so much has been done.
Can you outline some of the things that have been done so far to help the youth?
Well, PRC is one of those agencies that the head of state put in place a long time ago to help finance petty businesses. I think it's a good initiative. That will lead me to add something that the government has to do more to liberalize our economy.
Yes.
Because I think so much is in the hands of a very few people.
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
If capital is liberalized, many people are given the opportunity to create business. That will contain more youths. But you see that with some of our compatriots, unfortunately, our elders, who think that if they have money, it is to invest abroad. It is not helping Cameroon. If all those foreign investments were done back home here, the youths who are roaming the streets will have something to do.
In an interview that I once had with a Cameroonian that decided to come and invest here in the country, he told me, Imelda, it is not easy to invest in my own country. It is not easy because the government is not helping me enough. He went ahead showing me some documents just to prove that it's not easy. Is it easy for the diaspora to invest back in their country? You think it's easy?
That is why I said the government has to do more to liberalize. Because I don't understand why a flourishing Cameroonian out there wants to come back home to invest, and the government becomes an impediment to that investment. It is not correct. It is not correct. But this is not a vision of the head of state. Unfortunately, some collaborators think that way because of corruption, egoism. Somebody will think that before you invest 50 million, I should have 30 million of that money.
Yeah.
Those are individuals thinking that way, not the general government. Right? There are some elements within the government who are not thinking, who are not patriotic. Let me use the word. They are not patriotic enough to think that when someone is coming back home with a 50 million project, that project is not for that person. It is for the young people who are living in our universities and they don't have anything to do. The public service cannot contain everybody. So we need a strong private sector to liberalize our economy so more of these issues can be contained. Because as a sociologist, I'm looking at it more from the point of view that if many of our youths are employed, they will be responsible. The crime wave that you hear all around Yaoundé, Douala, it will reduce drastically. As they say it, an idle mind is a devil's workshop.
It's a devil's workshop.
Yes, everybody has needs. The youth, the youth, when you say you are a youth, that is a period where the pressure of life is on you.
Yes.
You need so many things. You need, and so when when life exerts that pressure on you and you don't have the means, what do? You resort to crime. So I think, like I've written severally, that it is in the benefit of the government that more youths are employed. Because when they are employed, they are disciplined, right? They are upright. And it is a give and take. It's an exchange, give and take. Because the government, you invest in the youth, and the youth, they give back to their country. But if they don't have enough to even give back, how do you explain that?
Should the president limit himself by just saying, or the government, what can they do? Should they just limit themselves by saying the conditions of youth needs to be ameliorated?
I think it should not be limited at the level of just talking. Talking without action boils down to nothing. I think that there should be a lot of action. There should be follow-up of these projects.
Yes.
The head of state, since he likes his children so much, which he has exhibited that in so many occasions that he likes us a lot, he has to make sure that he follows up. He looks into those projects that he puts in the hands of some of these ministers for the youth. Because if they know that the head of state is following up, very many people will be afraid to, to swindle the money that is meant for youth projects.
Yeah.
So I think one of the major ways to achieve the projects meant for youth is follow up. And it should be follow up from the toughest ladder of the administration, which is the head of state. If we follow up most of these projects, I think things will change.
And he promised the youth for the year 2021 that there is going to be the creation of about 500,000 jobs here in Cameroon. Now, most youth watch or listen to him talking. Do you think they are happy? Because from the comment I overheard in the taxi while coming, there are two boys that were talking on the number of jobs the president said that they are going to create this year in order to reduce unemployment in Cameroon. But they were not happy because it seems like, anyway, I'm not going to be among the 500 persons. And even if it's more than 500, I'm not going to be. How can we, what can we say about this? Or as it is supposed to be a good news?
Yes, I understand with youth who sound that way because of corruption. Corruption is a cankerworm that has eaten into the fabric of the Cameroon society. And if we avoid corruption, so many things will be addressed. Now, a youth who is complaining like that has every right to do so because a concours is launched in the public service and those who are there think that already are cousins, brothers and sisters, children, girlfriends, nephews, nepotism, to have access to such concours. What will happen to the Cameroonian children who don't have people to fight for them? People should have a broad way of looking at society. Understand that everybody has a right to a good life.
Yes.
If our public administrators have that kind of thinking, Cameroon will be a better place, right? Because the head of state is working very hard, be it in formal or informal sector, to create jobs. But if those jobs end up in particular families, now the common youth will not feel the impact. Whereas we are all equal Cameroonians.
Yes.
We are Cameroonians. Everybody has a right to work and live a decent life in this country. But now, those who are involved in executing the head of state orders, it depends on the mindset they have. If they think that the head of state has a good intention for all the youths, then they will work with a free mind. If they think there's an opportunity for us to have more people working in our families than other families, then you see that's where the problem lies, right? For example, the head of state through PRC, they can send money to rural youths.
Yes.
If that money ends in the private pocket, the youths in my village, Bojongo, will think that the head of state is not thinking about it, whereas he has given money which has ended in the private pocket. So these are things, whether you think it sounds funny or it sounds light, but it's heavy if you look at the depth of what I'm saying. These are things that if they are addressed, before you know, the Cameroonian youths will all have something to do. Because like we said in the course of our interview here, all of us should not be looking at the public service. The informal sector is there. But how does the informal sector succeed? You have to have the right actors, the people who have the right frame of mind to handle these agencies. So money that is meant for these agencies should get down to the grassroots. If not, you cannot address on the situation in Cameroon, be it in the public service or in the informal sector. So, to me, people have to change their mindset. You build a country from how you think. If you think that everybody has a right to a decent meal, a decent house, a decent life, you will work that everybody gets something. So, a country is constructed on the mindset, the way we reason. Cameroonians have to change their mindset. They have to think that we are one, from Mora down to Fako or in Cambe, all of us are one. Let us work for the general interest of everybody. Now, all of us are not destined to be certificate holders, right? Those who are certificate holders should be given the avenue to have a job that befits what they have studied. Those who are in the informal sector, who have done mechanic, plumbing, should be also given a fair opportunity to do their job. So, in all of that, if we do it, I think this number of employment that we are hearing, it will reduce drastically.
The President of the Republic, Paul Biya, equally asked our youth to be patriotic. Be patriotic because recently there is an increase on the usage of hate speech, especially since the advent of social medias. Now, with you, Emmanuel Ekema, as a political sociologist once more, would like to know how can you dissuade these youth not to participate in this practice?
Okay, before being a Bakurian, from Bamelike, Wondo, we are all Cameroonians. We are in this territory called Cameroon, right? So Cameroonians should see it from that perspective, that the tribal divisions are there, but we are Cameroonians. We are not Nigerians. So we have that duty, first of all, towards each other as a people who occupy a particular territorial space. And so, now, to come to the effects of hate speech, they are so grievous, because violence starts from there. Today, social media is not controlled, because people write what they think spontaneously. It's not like a TV station like we are doing now, that the consensus will pass out. Social media, people write their feelings. So social media, I will appeal to the youths to restrain. They should be conscious of their words, that every word uttered against a particular tribe can lead to violence, because it starts from there. You know, these people are this, these people are this, they behave like this. It starts building the hatred and the anger. Before you know, it will be manifested physically. So hate speech is something that has to be seriously condemned. I condemn with the strongest energy, because the head of state talked about peace, and peace is a prerequisite for development. You cannot take that out. It's peace. Without peace, there's no development. We can build all the skyscrapers here. We can have, you know, modern infrastructure in every region, but if we don't have peace, all those things will crumble down in less than 1 minute. So peace also determines how far we can go as a people. In the Northwest and Southwest regions now, that we have been in trouble for more than 4 years. There's stagnation as far as the socio-economic life of these regions is concerned. That you see now the importance of peace. So peace, it retards the growth of the country. It retards the growth of you as an individual. So we all need peace. Even the employment, we are crying that the head of state to create more employment, or the government to create more employment for the youths. It cannot be possible if we don't have peace. So I'm giving out this universal appeal to my brothers and sisters. Give peace a chance. Avoid hate speech. We are Cameroonians.
Avoid hate speech. We are Cameroonians, and it is on this word that we are ending the second part of our program. The guest, remember, week review part 2. It continues in the studio.
Yeah, we are in the studio to follow up with our program week review, and this time around we are going to have the last but not the least rubric entitled No Comment. And it is with this video that we are ending this other edition of your program entitled Week Review. We once more thank our guest, EMMANUEL Ekema. He is a civil society activist as well as a political sociologist. We equally want to thank Claver Danjura, equally Joseph Mbaga, Pamela Nga, and the entire team of Asha TV. Remember, Week Review, it is every Saturday when it is exactly 10:30 a.m. and rebroadcasted on Sunday at 1 p.m. Meantime, remain blessed.